Okay. So you're a very competitive person.
Yeah.
You
I am very,
you don't play anything casually.
I would agree with that.
Like even a game that's casual, you'll have a casualness to you, but you and I know deep down there is
We're going at it.
It's the same fire that if you were in the gladiator pit.
Yes.
Like wingspan or if I have to behead someone to survive, it's the same. It's the same intensity.
Yep.
You hopped into Zomboid and you were a clown. And I was so mad at you.
I know you were mad.
Were you recording it?
I was recording
I knew it. I knew it.
I did record it. I did record it.
See?
Yeah.
Oh, Welcome back to Recommendations Required, a podcast where two friends try to find their next obsession, and maybe so will you. I'm Ryan Mione.
I'm Glenn Brown.
And we're back possibly with episode 12. It's been so long, we don't know anymore.
Yeah.
It has been.
We took a slight hiatus there for that.
Yeah. There was a little sporadicness with, I think it's episode 9 or so. Currently still working on that one.
Yeah.
Hopefully it shouldn't feel too sporadic from that point forward with episodes and stuff, but it has been a while since we recorded. It's been a hot minute.
We got a lot going on, you know.
We do. I had a good. Do you have any openings? Any openers?
Well, I last episode you kicked off with talking about things we didn't like.
Yes.
I'm good. I got something.
If we want to
continue that
please.
Trend.
Because I don't have anything off the top of my head of like any would you rathers or drafting.
I don't want to go down too much of a rabbit hole on this one.
Okay,
but
I think last time we went too long.
I did see a commercial, I guess, for the Flash movie.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah, I saw it. Was it on the Super Bowl?
I don't know. I didn't watch the Super Bowl.
Okay.
I saw a commercial for the trailer.
Go
on TikTok
Cubs,
or whatever.
man. No, I actually watched it. It was good. It was a really good, really good game.
But yeah, I saw like clips from the trailer, and I'm like, oh, come on, guys. I don't know. Okay.
So the thing you don't like, you haven't even consumed it yet. You don't like.
I don't like the trailer. I don't like the trailer. I don't like the direction the DC universe is going in general. I don't know if I'm assuming you do not keep up with any of this, but I'll be super quick. Marvel kicked off their universe. It's great.
It's not anymore.
It's falling apart a little bit. I think Endgame was really the peak, and then after that,
Internals was whatever it was really
we
good.
Don't need to talk about
that. The newest Doctor Strange, that one was really good apparently. Which
I dropped off after Endgame. I thought Endgame was like
that's
really
the thing.
Nice
You're in denial. That's like you had 6 kids. You're like, these are all great, and then 3 more of them come. You're like, they're not my children. And they're like, your youngest kids are kind of a handful.
That's not at all. I don't know. I tapped out on the Marvel universe a little bit. And I'm kind of getting over the whole superhero movies in general.
Thank God.
It's just a lot. I think I'm personally done with it. I understand a lot of people are still into it. That's totally cool.
No, it's not.
But but the DC universe has always been a mess. I'm sure you're aware. It's just creative directions.
I saw Man of Steel. I thought that was good.
I thought Man of Steel was fine. Yes. But that's pretty much the only banger I think that the DC universe has had. They've been all over the place. They have different creative direction all over the place. Yep. They had like Suicide Squad came out. It wasn't good, and they just redid another Suicide Squad, which I have not seen. I heard it was better. I understand it was good, but like, and now what's his name? He directed Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, Ryan something.
No,
John. I don't know.
Wow.
We need
Wow.
I'm gonna pitch a new idea right now. Okay. Yeah. We're gonna move forward with this conversation.
Okay.
I'm gonna include this in the podcast, but from now on I'm gonna cut it and replace it with our new virtual assistant that is just going to insert the name of a thing when we can't remember it.
Okay.
So it'll be like, let's say it's like John Howard, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'll be like John Howard. Like, so when you hear that, just know
we
don't have the time to try and Google and figure it out, and it doesn't matter. Because we're already in the rabbit hole. We said we weren't going to go in a rabbit hole, and here we are. It's fine. Keep going. You didn't like the trailer for Flash. I didn't like the wrapper the candy was in. I haven't eaten the candy. I won't eat it because the wrapper isn't nice.
James Gunn. Thank you.
There's something deep in me that just wants to say that's wrong, but okay,
it's James Gunn. Okay. So basically, James Gunn is like the CEO of the DC universe now. He took over. Because he came in and fixed Suicide Squad, did the new Suicide Squad.
I don't think he's the CEO.
He's like the head creative director
okay.
of this entire universe now.
Yes.
And he basically came out in an interview or like a commercial of himself, basically saying, "Hey guys, I'm here. I'm gonna fix all of this. The DC universe is gonna get fixed. We're going in a good direction. Blah 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 blah." And I'm
fixed,
just like
neutered, right? Like there will be no more DC movies.
It'll be more coherent, is the idea. Yeah. But I'm just like, I saw that and I was like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't.
Thank you.
I just don't care anymore. But okay, let's see where this goes. And then the Flash trailer came out, and the main character, Ezra Miller, plays the Flash.
Yes.
And like he's problematic for a bunch of different reasons. I think I'm not keeping up with this again, but I think he's problematic for reasons. The Flash movie, the trailer for the Flash made it look like this is an exact carbon copy of the Spider-Man movie.
Oh.
Like it's literally the Flash runs so fast that he alters the timeline, and now we're meeting Batmans from other universes, and it's Val Kilmer, or not Val Kilmer. He played Falcon and
Virtual Assistant.
Yeah, he played Falcon. Oh my God, I can't believe it.
Keith.
I can't remember.
Keith something.
Oh my God. No,
this is
Keith
why we need
his last name.
I know.
Wow.
Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton. Thank you. Oh my God. Okay, so Michael Keaton is Batman now.
Yeah,
back as Batman because it's an alternate universe. He broke the timeline. Blah blah blah. And I'm like, this is just
the Spider-Man.
This is just the Spider-Man movie that just came out. I'm like, I know you guys are trying to like do stuff and do cool things, and like the Spider-Man movie is cool, so let's incorporate some of that. But I'm like, I already watched this movie.
All right, one second. Before you keep going on the rant.
Yeah.
You have to answer this one question.
Okay.
And depending on how you answer, it gets to be whether you get to continue the rant.
Okay.
When it comes out, are you going to watch it?
No.
Okay, continue.
Okay. No, I'm not going to watch this movie. I don't care at all.
Okay.
But clearly I care.
You care because the thing that brought you so much joy is dying.
Yes.
And you can't accept the death. Instead, Glenn, you're growing up. You want to watch movies that are impactful and quality, and they haven't been quality.
I'm going to get to the root. I'm going to get to the root of it. I'll get to the root of it. Basically what they're doing is they are rebooting the entire universe with James Gunn's creative direction by the Flash.
Which is kind of what they did with Star Trek.
A little bit, yeah. So, which is like a very common Flash storyline. Yep. They do it in the TV show.
I know, that's why I'm kind of confused on your.
So he does like a time jump, breaks the universe and timeline split, and now we're gonna break into a new universe that's all like coherent and directed by James Gunn, blah blah blah. And I'm just like, you know what? And oh my gosh, I'm not even gonna talk about Black Adam. That's a whole nother train wreck debacle with The Rock. But I'm just like, I almost wish you didn't have to come up with some like
new thing,
some new reason that we're rebooting this whole universe. Like, just say, hey, starting now, we're starting a coherent universe.
But they've done that so many times.
I know,
already, DC.
I know. But now you're gonna commit to it.
Yeah.
It sounds like now you're gonna commit to it.
They're not though.
So just cut off everything
Wasn't there a whole thing
before
with James
and
Gunn
just
too?
start. Yeah, that's a whole nother issue.
There's the thing with everything.
I know. I'm just like, just start from scratch and just ignore everything previously, and don't like take this thing and mangle it to like fit this new creative direction you want to go in by copying a good movie that just came out. I'm like, I don't know. I didn't like this thing. That's what I'm saying. I didn't like this commercial for a trailer.
I'm glad I can hear about things you don't like, because this podcast is full of a lot of things that you do like.
Yes.
I have a feeling this episode is going to be things Glenn doesn't like. Okay. This is going to be the segue
we'll get into
for a second.
Yeah.
This will be the segue. I'm noticing something with this podcast that is interesting because my first suggestion was magic, correct?
Yeah, it was magic.
Okay, so yours was Wingspan, and then mine was magic.
Yeah.
My fixation on magic has only intensified.
Same.
And
obviously,
every other thing that we've brought up has been like, this is cool.
Mm-hmm.
But Magic.
We're still deep in Magic.
We haven't hit the bottom of that barrel. But okay, wait. Before we go into that, we can get into that in a second.
Okay.
But something I felt with Zomboid is I still want to keep playing it, but I don't want to play it alone.
Yeah.
And no one else is really there to play it.
Yeah.
And I'm really into it still, in the sense of, can someone please play this? And I'm like, I think I brought this video game to the podcast in a sense of me saying, Glenn, please come play with me.
Yeah.
And afterwards, I'm like, it's not really Glenn's game, and I'm kind of okay if I don't play it for a while, but I want to keep playing it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you know what? I think it's fine. I think that's a fine reason to bring a recommendation, but I'm trying to be more clear with myself of, why am I recommending this?
Sure. Yeah.
I think
that
was
setting
just
up good expectations.
I think I felt like I failed. And before you even whether you liked it or disliked it.
Yeah.
I felt like I was like,
I don't think you failed.
this isn't, because we've played around with that idea again and again, is like, what is the caveat or like what is the setting of like recommending something? And I just felt with this, I was like,
you recommended something you wanted to play, not something you thought I would like.
And yeah, exactly. Which we said that's not an issue.
Yeah, that's not an issue. We're here for a good time. We don't need to set a ton of really strict rules.
If you don't like it, that doesn't count against me.
Yeah.
That doesn't count against the score. I'll still have a perfect score. No,
we're here to have fun. We're here to have fun. We're not going to box ourselves in too much. Maybe. At the risk of losing our entire audience for this podcast,
all three people. You, me,
my sister.
Yeah, your sister and my brother. 4 people.
How
are you guys doing? Rissy, Justin.
Why don't we just skip this whole thing and get them on a phone call?
We'll just we don't need to record it. We can just call them and just have this conversation.
Have a chat.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of want to have like a Magic episode where we just talk about Magic.
No.
Okay, that's fair.
No.
We shouldn't.
Because I know we've talked about setting up different things.
Yeah.
I would do a YouTube video on Magic.
Okay. Yeah.
I would do other content around Magic that we're enjoying. Bonus episode.
Okay.
That we've talked about. This has to
not here.
Not here. Not now. Read the room, Glenn.
Okay.
Read the room. It says
it's
no
not the time
everywhere.
Okay. That's fair. I'm good with that. Yeah.
So Zomboid.
Okay. Zomboid. Yeah, let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
Yeah. Want me to kick it off?
I do. Okay. I do want to throw you under the bus for a second.
Oh, okay.
You how do I explain this?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're a very competitive person.
Yeah.
You
I am very,
you don't play anything casually.
I would agree with that.
Like even a game that's casual, you'll have a casualness to you, but you and I know deep down there is the
we're going at it.
It's the same fire that if you were in the gladiator pit.
Yes.
Like wingspan or if I have to behead someone to survive, it's the same.
Death,
yeah, it's the same intensity.
Yep.
You hopped into Zomboid and you were a clown. And I was so mad at you.
I know you were mad.
Were you recording it?
I was recording
it. I knew it.
I did record it. I did record it. Yeah.
See? Oh, I knew it. I'm sitting there, I'm like, what the hell is Glenn's issue? What is his mother issue? He's so competitive. Here comes this hardcore game, and he walks out the door. He's like, I'm gonna shoot a zombie. I'm like, if he's recording this and trying to put on a show for all of the no ones that are gonna watch this, and he's ruining the gameplay, because you know what? We played again. We played
the second time.
And you were a normal ass person.
I didn't record that one.
You didn't record that one. I'm so mad. I don't even want to hear what you thought. I am livid. I'm so pissed at you right now. I was so defeated inside.
You got
I was
me
like,
back. I could feel your defeat. I felt really bad after the first time we played
so
it.
So mad. I knew I left that game session. I was like, he was recording because he was trying to be funny and he wasn't trying to survive.
I was trying to entertain our audience. So the first time we played, we did record. I was a bit goofy.
You didn't even tell me.
I could no, I didn't tell you. Honestly, I think the audio didn't work on the recording. Anyway,
Good.
So it's not going to go anywhere. But I did feel bad after the first time we played. I could sense you were not feeling good about it.
Mad.
So I was glad we got to play again, and I didn't record, and I took it more seriously.
I was like, we have so many competitive things we're playing. Mm-hmm. We just need a game where it's like, you know what? Let's just pair up. Mm-hmm. And if anyone's going to take this seriously and get my back, it's going to be Glenn. 10 seconds in. Just screws us over. Oh, my gosh. All right. Walk me through it, Glenn. Walk me through your betrayal.
Okay. So I want to back it up a couple steps. We're going to back it up here. Okay. Ryan suggests this game to me. Okay, Zomboid, Project Zomboid. That's what we're talking about. I'd like to start off with saying I think the character creation in this game is quite good.
Yeah,
I liked it a lot. So in this game, you essentially pick a background first, right, of what you were before the zombie
apocalypse. Different skills you'll get. Like if you're a chef, you're better cooking for mechanic.
It's almost like a class in D&D or something. You know,
way more casual than
way more casual. But like essentially, I'll go with lumberjack or whatever.
Yep.
If you're a lumberjack, you automatically get this bonus of you're better with an axe. You're probably a little bit better at survival or something like that. You know, you get like these 3 basic stats that are very easy to understand. You understand how they're going to act when you play the game, even before you play the game, which is very good and sometimes hard to do when you're doing a video game. Is understanding when you're creating this character, what are these things going to do in game? Mm-hmm. Sometimes that can get lost and you don't understand anything and it feels very frustrating. Loved that right off the bat. Okay. And then you get to the second screen and you get to like fine tune your character of like, I think the first time we played, we tried to be us, you know? I picked an engineer. I got some engineering skills.
We realized that none of my real life talents would be helpful in the zombie apocalypse.
Yep. We figured out that we would not do well. But it was kind of fun of, I went in there. You can play as you or anyone.
You can make it more of a simulator.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But it was also then you get to fine tune your character a little bit more. But even that was very straightforward and easy to do, which was nice. Like I have dyslexia, so I'm a slow reader. So I picked slow reader. Yeah. But it instantly told me, hey, because you took this negative, you now have points to spend on the positive.
So
I was like,
really cool balance.
Fun. It's very easy to balance, very easy to understand what you're doing. So I went down to like positives and I don't know, I picked like good at inventory management or organization or something like that, you know? So it's right off the bat, very easy to get into and understand what's happening and what these things are going to do for you. And then you get to play around with like some fun outfits.
Yep.
So I thought character creation in the game was quite good. Yeah. Cool. So then we get into the game.
Yep.
And it drops you in like a random house essentially, and you kind of go from there. I really enjoy roguelikes in general usually, and
which I would consider this to be kind of
this is roguelike without the powering up on each run. So you basically start from scratch each time unless you're able to like find your setup that you had previously done in a previous life. So you get a little bit of that. But like
because when you die in that world and then you start a new character in that world. So if you could find your old base or your person, you can get your stuff
like
back.
Stumble upon,
which is a really nice way to play that out.
Yeah. So it's but to that point, I really like when game mechanics mesh really well with the theme of the game.
Yeah.
So like it's a roguelike that makes sense
in
because
the world
and the universe that's happening, you know. One of my favorite roguelikes I've ever played is Hades.
Yes.
On the Switch.
Yeah.
And that has again really cool roguelike, but like the concept is that you're trying to escape hell. So you're like fighting through all these dungeons to get out of hell, but when you die, you go right back to hell. Like the mechanic meshes well with the scenery and the theme, and like it feels good when it happens. 100%. And I thought that had this same character. I really liked that. So obviously on the first gameplay, I messed up. I walked outside, shot a gun. It turns out that you're basically dead at that point. But the second gameplay felt really good.
I was gonna say, if the second time we played felt really nice.
Yeah, like we were working well together, and like we got to like a firehouse and started building up a stash, and like started organizing things we were finding, and like I actually had a lot of fun once I started getting like. I got a map, and you can like find a pen and start like marking up the map. You know,
so that was my moment I brought up when I was suggesting or recommending it was the moment where I was bleeding and I needed bandages and I ripped the curtain. Yours was the pen, and I could see that click moment for you where you're like, oh, and then the color pen and pencil I use is going to be the color that like it was just
shows up on the map.
Exactly, it's just these little things.
Yeah, I think one of the things I liked so much is the graphics. And the gameplay seems so simple at first.
Yes.
It's almost like 2D on 3D image.
Like 2.5, I would say.
Yeah, like 2.5 graphics. It's very simple. It doesn't feel like very advanced.
Mm-hmm. It also shows you what you need to see.
Yeah, it shows you exactly what you need to see. It's not cluttered. I think the inventory management can get a little bit cluttered.
Yes,
and like
100%. That's where it got.
You pull down this huge drop down of everything you're carrying, and this huge drop down of everything you can loot. And like sometimes I was like, there's a lot of stuff moving 100%. Around here, and that overwhelmed me a little bit. But for the most part, like it has this very simple facade to it. Mm-hmm. But once you start playing, it's like, oh, this is actually really complex, and there's a lot of moving parts going on here. Of like I said with the map and the pen, it's like I found this map and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But then I opened the map and I was like, oh, I can't like do anything to the map. Nothing's labeled on the map. Yeah. It's just a map with like shapes on it.
Yeah.
And like some roads. I was like, that's kind of weird. I don't know what to do with this. And I was like, I saw on the side that like I can select like a pen to write on the map, but I was like, it won't let me select them, you know? And then I like went 5 more minutes, you know, and I found a pen in someone's inventory and I was like, oh, no way.
It's like the
so
circle.
I picked up the
it's
pen
like those like
then,
different shapes and you're putting the blocks in. Yeah. And you're like, oh, the square goes in the square hole.
It seems so simple, right? Yeah. But then you discover this little intricate piece and you're like, oh, that's a really cool thought. So but then it's like that every 5 minutes is that was really cool that they did that. Yeah, and I felt like it definitely feels like a game where like I can see the creator put a lot of love and care into the way these things are managing and stuff like that. So once we got in that kind of
we hit the school.
It felt good.
That was that playthrough, and we like tried to get into the school and get the backpacks.
Yeah, and we were set up in the firehouse.
And I think you might touch on this, but like one thing I felt playing with you were dying a lot.
I was dying a lot.
You were like going through characters like crazy, and like. Totally fine, whatever. But something I was like, ooh, I think I'm learning how to maneuver around zombies.
Yeah.
And I'm learning how to kind of stay alive. And I think it's like this is like one of those recommendations that I felt like if we had twice the amount of plays, we would have had a really different experience. And different, like, well, I don't know what your final opinion is on it, but it was also one of those things of playing it with you. I was like, ooh, this is definitely one of those things where I feel like we only watched a quarter of the movie and are now judging it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
All right, that was.
I liked that, like, I picked those stats, you know, and I can see those stats working in the game, you know. It didn't feel like the character creation was for nothing, you know. I could, like, role play that character a little bit, or as much or as little as I wanted to, you know. Like, I could really do anything I want, but, like, because I was a lumberjack or whatever.
You can play your strengths.
At one point I was a lumberjack. I was like, oh, I really want to find an axe, you know, because that's the whole point, you know. So I feel like the game does like give and take with you on like how much role playing you want to do, how much like survival management you want to do and stuff like that. I do think my main thing with this game is I think this is a great game, very well constructed, not a game for me.
Yeah, I could see that.
Which I'm sure you knew going in, but and I think more specifically, it's not a game for me right now.
That's a really good point.
If that makes sense, you know? Because I was playing this game and I was like, man, if this was 10 years ago, we're in high school in Ryan's parents' basement and it's like 8 of us in a LAN party, I'd play this for 12 hours straight.
Yeah.
You know, it's perfect. Everyone's jumping into this world. You're all doing stuff. Like it would feel so much fun.
Yeah.
And you can just dump hours into it
100%.
And love it, you know? But I'm in a time in my life right now where I play video games, I don't know, maybe like
30 minutes or an hour.
2 or 3 hours a week, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like I can't give the game the time it needs to be good to me, you know?
No, 100%. And that was something that I've been experiencing as of late, was like I did a couple solo plays and it was fun, but I'm like, I need a game right now in my life where I can hop in, play 20 minutes, and then hop out and be done. This is not that game.
Yeah, it's not that game. And which is why I think, what?
Nothing.
Which my game of choice right now is Apex Legends. And I think that's because I can jump in, jump out, and that's the game.
But
you know?
quick, because we've talked a little bit about this. So my current game right now is Magic the Gathering on Arena.
Yeah.
You're not about it.
I'm not about it. No.
Okay.
I haven't even tried it, to be fair,
So
but I don't think it'd be what I'm into, because I also specifically like games where I'm interacting with other people I know.
That's fair. Okay.
Like I prefer board games, video games, whatever it is, to be a social engagement that I'm participating in someone else.
We could play each other
with someone else. That's true.
But no,
then you gotta like text the person like, hey, I'm hopping onto Magic Arena, you know? And like I almost don't want to have this thing on my phone where like I can just default to it and like just start playing Magic Arena at random times. I feel like that could eat up a lot of my time. I don't want it to. So that's why I haven't really dove into that much. I'd rather like sit down and play actual Magic with someone
100%.
like at a table.
Like we're going to tonight.
Yeah, like we will tonight. So yeah, to get back to it, I think it's a great game, but it's not a good game for me right now.
I think it's a perfect way of explaining it.
Yeah, but I thought the game as a whole has really great mechanics that work well with the theme. If this sounds like a game you would be interested,
so
I highly recommend it.
I was going to say, would you agree with the statement that someone who would want a really would want a serious zombie survival game where they can play with their friends, and it's not a DayZ situation where it's so hardcore you don't have any fun.
Yep.
It's casual enough. And if you have the time to put into a game like that,
I highly recommend it. I think it's for you. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I think then this game is totally for you. I will say that also my biggest struggle with the game was I tend to lean towards action games.
Yes.
And like first person shooters and stuff like that. Like I like a little bit more speed and fast pace in the game. When things get too slow, I tend to get a little bored.
Yeah. Which there is a lot of downtime in this game.
Yeah, and there's a lot of downtime and like just sneaking around a lot, and inventory management is like a huge component of this game. And that kind of lost me a little bit.
Okay.
Which is why kind of not only because I was being a little entertaining, but like the moment I walked in, I was like, I just want to shoot something because I haven't played this game before, and I just want to see what happens and shoot something and get excited.
Which is totally fair.
And I mean, I died immediately and realized, okay, I cannot do this, do that in this game. But yeah, that's just kind of more of the speed of game I'd prefer. I'd prefer. I think this game would be more my speed if it's more like, just jump outside and start shooting guns ablazing, and like go for it.
But there's 100 zombie games like that.
That just isn't this game, and that's fine.
There was this one game that I'm thinking about suggesting to you. I still need to finish it, but it's a solo. It's a solo person. Why? What? That sounds weird to me. That's not how you say that. A solo person.
Not a multiplayer game.
It's non-multiplayer. I don't know.
What do you call that? Oh my God, we need our assistant.
All right, where's our assistant?
What do you call that?
we gotta give it a second to respond. Oh, okay, okay, thanks, got it.
Thank you,
so,
assistant.
The thing about it though is
it's pure.
The thing about it is like it's such a crazy story, and it's a pretty quick play, and I want to suggest it to you, but I'm like, again, I think one area where you and I are not drawn to the same things. Like we'll play any game, especially we'll play any game if someone else is going to do it.
Yeah.
But like first person shooters for me, I'm like, like I don't know, maybe it's like you could not pay me to play Valorant. Like
Oh really?
Oh my
Tapped
gosh,
on Valorant. Okay.
It's a pixel shooter.
Yeah.
Look at the one little pixel you hit it, I'll get you in the game. Like, I'm just you know, I know it's simplifying it, but then it's also like Dota. Like I know.
I enjoy Dota.
We gotta play more Dota. I've been getting more.
Once again, I think Dota can get a little grindy for me at some 100%. Points where I'm like,
there's nothing.
I know I just need to sit behind my minions and like tap things and like do very specific strategies. But I'm like, I just want to go kill that dude.
I want to kill that dude.
You know, I just want to run over and kill that dude.
You gotta pace yourself.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's been an interesting. I still want to suggest games to you that I think that I know aren't your type to push you, because I also think my type of game is like way more out there mechanically. I'm like, I want a game that I've never played before. And I think for you, you're like, I want to play a game where I'm comfortable and I can bring the skill set from this to this, but with a new spice.
Yeah. I'm always down to try new stuff.
Yeah.
It's just not always going to hit me. You know? So, yeah.
I kind of wish in some ways that I didn't play Deep Rock, because that would have been a fun game. We need to play Deep Rock together, because that's like that's like the perfect amount of no, that's not the word. That's the amount of like, it's a non-co-op game.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's a co-op game that like has that high-paced action, and it's so fun.
I kind of want to set up a new rule for the podcast, if that's okay with you. I like how we also like figure out the podcast in the podcast. We don't have like we have zero conversations. We're on episode 12. We can figure it out on the podcast. People should know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, what's this new rule?
I don't want to go back and retroactively do this rule, but I almost kind of wish that when I pitched Deep Rock and you were like, "Oh, I've already played it."
Yeah.
I kind of wish we were just like, "Okay, we'll just talk about it next week then." Or like talk about it in the next episode.
Okay. So
like if we feel good enough about it, I don't want to just dismiss it of like, oh, we can't talk about it because you've already played it.
No.
I kind of wanted to chat about it.
We should do it as a YouTube video then.
Okay, so it's
here's why we love Deep Rock. Here's why we love Magic.
Okay,
like,
fine. Maybe that's a bonus.
Like I think this podcast is the
all
spine,
about trying new things.
The spine of whatever content we're creating, and then it fluctuates.
Okay, that's fine. Okay,
because that conversation is going to be.
I love it.
I love it. I do too.
Okay, that's fair enough.
All right, we got 45 minutes left.
That's true. We can talk critically about the game.
We can, but we should talk like I would rather than that someone listening, like we can say, hey, we just released. If you were thinking about getting into Deep Rock, or if you like Deep Rock, want to hear our thoughts.
I agree. Okay,
we could do it as a podcast.
Stuff. That can be bonus stuff.
Exactly.
Okay, so fair enough.
So probably a thing on Commander.
I think there needs to be a Commander-specific Magic episode.
And then Deep Rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then the Flash movie when we both watch it and love it.
Nope.
All right. So any other final thoughts? For the love of God, we need a grading system. We need a grading system, y'all.
I feel like it's one of those things where we're just never going to have one, and it will grind our gears every episode. It
doesn't upset you. It pisses me off.
I will say one more thing about it. You should know going into this game that it's very heavy on inventory management.
Yes.
And I think that's also something I just cannot do in a video game, because I cannot bring myself to do it in real life, and it feels like a
100%.
stab in the back to myself. I'm stabbing myself in the back when I do inventory. Spend so much time doing inventory management in a game, but I won't do it in my real life.
There's also an exercise button that your character can do it.
But I don't work out at all in my real life.
It's like, dude, I don't do this in real life. I'm not gonna do this in the game.
It feels like I'm punching myself in the face a little bit.
Right,
and
I get that.
Oof, man, just be prepared for that. If that's up your alley, great. But I can't do it.
So funny.
But yeah.
All right. Well, we actually have. You're not going to recommend me something.
Nope.
We're doing another guest episode.
Yeah, we got a guest.
Our friend Mike, and he's going to recommend something. I know what it is.
Okay, I do not.
You have no idea.
I'm super excited.
Okay.
Our last guest episode went really well.
It went really well. It was really fun, and I want to keep doing them.
I'm excited.
You said a comment that I'm sure you've already forgotten that I'm going to bring up later.
Okay.
So I'm interested to see how this goes, but it'll make sense in a second. But,
okay.
All right, we'll see you in the second half.
Mike, welcome.
Glenn.
Welcome to Recommendations Required.
Thank you. Well, just to level set here, I'm a huge fan of you guys and what you guys have been doing. I've been listening. I listened to every episode.
Thanks so much.
Probably 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
Very good stuff.
Okay.
Really
Thank you.
what you had to say, opinion-wise.
Any takes that we had that you were like,
Oh yeah,
What about it?
I don't think so. I think if there was a lull, I just kind of had it on in the background while I was like cooking or something like that. But I think the highlights for me were definitely the one-off shoots of like the improv creativity thing, especially with Dominic when you had him on.
That was a good one.
That was really fun.
Yeah.
The one thing that I saw that you guys posted these videos to like YouTube sometimes. And the one thing I saw was the thumbnail. It was like gray. You guys were really small at a table, and I was kind of bummed out where like there wasn't like that one like catch eye or your
clickbaity
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I wanted Glenn's eyes to be like insanely big, and then like they had, like some Marvel title.
We
where
need
he's
to
like,
be more clickbaity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I like
So we had
it,
one that come out because you were just I think you were just doing like really random graphics, and then
I was just doing like basic thumbnails as basically placeholders because I don't know what I'm doing yet.
the next like 5 episodes don't worry, Mike.
Should be better.
The next 5 episodes are coming out. They'll
Ryan's
be
hooking
clickbaity
us up
as
with
hell.
clickbaity covers.
You know it. Yeah. There will be like just like
Thumbnails.
2/3 of it will just be cleavage. we won't.
Who's cleavage?
I don't know. Mine.
Somebody's.
My cleavage.
One of our cleavages.
So don't you worry, Mike. We'll get clickbaity for sure.
I'm looking forward to it.
We'll be like, we solved America's economic problems, and we'll just talk about like Zomboid.
I think our hottest take, I don't know if you saw this, but our hottest take so far, according to the internet, has been our D&D class rankings.
Okay. Mike, man, yeah. I always say this every episode. This might be a long episode because I want to get into this. I want to hear enough.
That's fine.
Rangers,
Yeah.
good or bad?
The supplemental documentation that Wizards of the Coast came out with made Rangers like I'm like, okay, this Unearthed Arcana made the Ranger class like it's a thing now. But the base set, the core,
Which is what we were talking about.
We were only talking core set.
only core set, it's so lackluster.
Okay.
Done.
The internet agrees with you.
The internet agrees with me.
Done.
Absolutely.
I got some major hate for putting Ranger 2 out of my 5 on my list. I
That
put
is
it
pretty
second.
high.
Yeah.
My first one was Bard.
I took Paladin.
Bard is great.
Paladin was my first, and then I took Ranger. Yeah.
Paladin, I mean, those two top ones, love them both.
I think the top ones were good. Yeah, and people did not like that I took Ranger so
I know,
early.
and you were pushing for Ranger. I'm like, Glenn, just because you have a bow and arrow fetish doesn't mean
I love Ranger.
Well, and the thing is, too, you could make a rogue that does the same things,
I know,
but
better.
way better. But better.
Way better.
The Ranger's cooler.
But just because it's called Ranger, if you just built a rogue that did everything and then called it a Ranger,
his name could be Ranger.
his name could be Ranger.
Okay. I don't want to rehash this.
I do want to play more D&D, which you brought up in a group text.
Man,
and
Mike,
I'm super
you have
hungry
no
for it.
idea how excited that made me.
Okay, I'm glad.
We've been consistently meeting for Magic.
I know,
dude.
I've been wanting to play D&D again so bad, especially since one of my most recent campaigns kind of fell apart and we haven't been playing anymore. But I specifically want to be a character. I'm always DMing for my group, and I specifically want someone else to DM and get into it again. Like I loved the time you DM'd for us. Like
Great.
I loved that campaign. It was so much fun.
I'm glad to hear.
I don't think the world needs another D&D podcast or YouTube, but
if there was gonna be another one,
if people are interested in us playing online, let us know.
Yeah. I think
they would give us more motivation to keep it going.
I think specifically the three of us would make a really good D&D podcast. Yeah.
But I don't know if we need another one.
Okay. The world probably doesn't need another one.
Mike, you have a recommendation.
I do.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Okay.
I want to give a little bit of caveat before he drops what it is.
Okay.
Because Mike,
I already know what it is.
I already know what it is. Mike was explaining it to me, and I was like, "Ooh, these are some cool." I'll first say it's a game. Okay. I was like, "These are some cool mechanics." Mm-hmm. And I was just like, "Ooh, this seems really interesting. I want to play it. I want to try." Excuse me. But the one thing that popped in my head as we were explaining, I'm like, "Mike, you should come on. You should recommend this."
Yeah.
I was like, in my head, and I didn't tell Mike this. I'm like, Glenn did say though that he doesn't think he could get into any more card games. Without
I have previously said that like I am now diving into Magic pretty deep, obviously.
You're deep.
And I feel like I haven't taken my full journey in Magic to the point where I feel like I want to jump out of it into something else. You know, I feel like I'm still enjoying Magic, and I would just want to enjoy Magic. But
without further ado,
so I'm
open.
A recommendation of the card game variety. And it's very mainstream. It's the second largest franchise in the world behind Winnie the Pooh. Can you guess what it is?
Pokemon.
Yes.
How did you guess?
You got it.
Did you say behind Winnie the Pooh?
Behind Winnie the Pooh.
Which do you know what's up with Winnie the Pooh?
Oh my god, what?
Just became public domain.
Really?
Last year it became public domain, so anyone can make anything Winnie the Pooh, and they came out with a horror movie where Winnie the Pooh and all his friends are killing Christopher Robin.
It's kind of like Happy Friends-esque.
Wild. Wild.
But I guess since it is...
That makes me so sad.
It sucks.
No worries.
Okay, so second largest to... Wait, you said second largest what?
Franchise.
So merch...
Winnie the Pooh is the biggest franchise?
Isn't that weird?
It's a sleeper. It's a
sleeper franchise.
Well, you see like everybody, like their 4-year-old has like a Winnie the Pooh shirt.
Yeah.
That's true.
So
bigger than Mickey Mouse?
Apparently, according to Wikipedia.
That's wild.
Okay. So. And we all know we can trust Wikipedia.
Can we get over that joke? Wikipedia is trustworthy.
It is pretty
all
trustworthy.
Right, period. Yeah. I don't just because your teachers wanted you to spend more time.
Apparently, we can't make jokes on this podcast
no
anymore.
I'm just so I'm so angry at that. All right, so off topic.
So it's not niche by any means, right?
Yeah.
We've never played it though.
You've never played it, and you both grew up without Pokemon. Is that correct?
Okay, so my history with Pokemon, I think I have played it very briefly once. Okay. Never really understood what was going on or picked up on it. I was super young.
What was the game, or what was it?
What?
What was the game? Like you said,
was it a card game? Was it a video game?
Oh, it was a card game. Card game. Sorry.
You were introduced to the card game.
Yeah, okay. I had tried playing the card game once. I think I barely remember it.
Got
it. And I did like watch reruns of the TV show when I was a kid, but very sporadically. Never really understood what was going on in the show at all.
Perfect.
Never played a single video game.
Great.
So I've never played the game.
Never been into it.
I collected the cards. Have never played with.
You've collected?
Yes.
Okay.
I had a decent collection. I was really into the TV show.
Okay.
Like went to the movie when it came out, like the first Pokemon movie in the theaters, and like I was very into that. I don't know why, and then I just stopped. But the only card game I was playing at that time was Yu-Gi-Oh. So the thing that interested me about Pokemon specifically was just how different it is from Magic. Because I feel like if you if you play Hearthstone, if you play, I mean Gwent is a pretty wild mechanics there, but they all have a very similar feel. And as you were explaining Pokemon, I was like, this is wild.
Very different.
Very different.
Really?
Yeah. Very different.
Okay, I'm intrigued now.
So it's going to be great because you two haven't really been brainwashed by the franchise like me.
Ooh.
I can't wait to be brainwashed.
Huge. I hope to brainwash you today. And you're never going to want another guest on your show again than me because... anyway,
this will turn into a Pokemon podcast.
Exactly.
That's the podcast title. Ryan and Glenn get brainwashed.
Get brainwashed.
There
Love
you
go. It. So you're going to be the perfect specimens because you know card games.
Yeah.
You are coming from a perspective of understanding rules and everything like that, but you have no attachment to any of the cards.
The entertainment.
So the entertainment of the people, because like for me, like I mean, there's been studies on the Stanford Neurosciences Institute conducted a study where people like myself who have played Pokemon from an early age have a similar looking portion of the brain that is like devoted to Pokemon. So this brain fold behind our ears or my ears.
This was just about Mike.
Yeah, just me.
This is a study on Mike.
I don't know how to pronounce it. Octopimorial sulcus. Probably hadn't pronounced that right. Anyway, so as best these researchers can tell, this region typically responds to images of animals which these characters can resemble. So me growing up on these Pokemon, I'm absolutely never going to forget them. That's why I say I'm brainwashed.
Okay.
Because they're stuck forever in this physical fold in my brain. So
can you like list are you one of those people who have like an archive of Pokemon that you could just rattle off?
I like to think I can, but if I did it now, I probably wouldn't able
to.
Okay. Right.
Put on the spot.
So studies like this showcase how critical like early age learning is. But anyway, the thing is that you're going to have this perspective where you're coming from the structure and not the attachment. For me, I think a lot of the enjoyment of this game comes from like, I know all these characters and it's cool. And I'm like, I know this guy from when I was 6 years old or whatever.
Gotcha.
So
it's that nostalgia side of it.
Yeah.
It's the nostalgia side of it. So I think you'll bring a great perspective on that. And what we have to actually try is draft. So Everything Games provided us some great draft boxes, which Ryan is familiar with.
Incredible store if you're local. I'll throw the website in the show notes. Like if you're in the Lake County area, it's incredible.
Yeah, 404 West Half Day Road. They're the greatest group of people that you'll ever meet. Gaming community, greater Chicago area. They have the largest selection of Pokemon that you could probably imagine or want. So tell them recommendations required sent you, and they'll have no problem recommending your next requirement or something or other.
That is not a bad idea.
That'd be cool.
This is another one of those like I might recommend this. There was a recommendation, Mike, that you and I got into at one point that they offer at the store. You know what it is. It was a hobby that we got really into.
Warhammer.
I was debating bringing this back up.
Did you ever get into Warhammer?
Never touched Warhammer.
Never
have
Warhammer.
no concept of it. I know you paint figurines. That's pretty much it.
There's 40K. There's sci-fi. There's fantasy. There's Lord of the Rings.
All right. Well,
I know you like fight armies.
It's great. It's so much fun. All right, keep going.
You guys. Okay.
Basically,
I feel like you guys got to remember, like, I have a kid now.
You have 2 kids. It's Nora and this podcast.
And that's
like,
so.
Oh man. Okay. Sorry.
No worries. So unlike the other card games, it differs in the fact that I think it is a little bit more simplistic in rules, where the card is comprised of about one ability and like 1 or 2 moves that the Pokemon can do to attack.
Okay.
Which I would say is not a bad thing. Like sometimes Magic is like we have to spend literal minutes
figuring out what's happening.
How does this card interact?
Yeah.
Like
exactly. So there's not as many things as going on at once.
Okay.
But there's, I think, in my opinion, just enough going on. Okay. And maybe once a game you'll have something where it's like, well, does this activate first or does that activate first? Go ahead.
Would you say that in general it is more complicated or less complicated of a game compared to Magic?
It is definitely a less complicated game.
Okay.
Like this is like your entry level game where the Pokemon Company made sure that their main demographic is going to be
a little on the younger side,
probably like 8-year-olds, middle, high school.
But it's still complicated enough that it's keeping your interest.
Right, and I think one of the main reasons it's keeping my interest or has kept my interest is because I had been brainwashed. So it's gonna be great to see that is this
like
this
if
card
we
game
play
a
it
kid's game?
and don't like it, you're like, oh, I just like it because I'm brainwashed.
Exactly.
Okay.
We're like what's a litmus test for you of whether I don't know if that's the right phrasing.
No,
of
I
it
think
being
so.
like, hey, is this actually a good game?
Yeah,
or like,
we're
did they just
the
get you
baseline
hard?
samples. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, real quick, did you watch the TV show and play the video games? Were you like deep into all Pokemon stuff?
Yeah, and probably still am today.
Okay.
So I think I started like when I was like 6. I had Pokemon. So Generation 2, which is Johto. So I had Game Boy Color, and I had Pokemon Silver, Gold, and Crystal. And then from there, it goes on to Gen 3, and right now we're all the way up to Gen 9. So I've played all of them.
Okay.
I hadn't been too great on
even
TV show.
Arceus?
Arceus, Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Yeah.
That was on the Switch, so I played that one.
Recently, right? Yeah.
Definitely a deviation to the norm from your normal kind of Pokemon game, so you know about that
Good
one.
deviation?
I would say definitely good deviation.
I think it's
for
debated
sure.
whether it's good.
This is the new one.
This
is the newest one that came out.
It was one of the newer ones. I think it came out in like 2020.
It's like kind of open world.
Yeah, it broke
that one
the
was
framework.
That was the only one where I was like,
Pokemon game.
I might give this a try.
Yeah,
I would recommend it.
It's on the Switch, right?
But it is on the Switch. I'm super opinionated on the
this
video
whole
game and the
podcast is
creation.
just tangents.
It's just tangents.
Yeah.
It's fine. Just
don't feel bad about
So
it.
Pokemon.
To be clear, you are recommending the card game.
The card game.
Okay.
Yes.
And I mean, since there's a camera here, I have. What we will be
We're not gonna be reviewing the TV show. We're not gonna be reviewing the video games. Nothing like that. We're just talking card game.
I do. I do have one hot question I want to ask you.
That is a lot of boxes of cards.
I know.
It requires a lot of setup. So we have here, these are 3 different sets of draft boxes, so it's going to be really great to have us pick.
Okay.
One from each release. So these are, I think, all released sequentially. So first Astral Radiance came out, then Lost Origin, and then Silver Tempest there.
Okay.
No, you go ahead.
So are there like different game modes similar to Magic where you keep saying formats? Thank you. You keep saying draft. Like, is there a draft format that you play in and like tournaments and stuff?
Yes. Okay. So there's really only 2 different formats for Pokemon, which is draft, which is going to be a total of 40 cards in your deck. And then standard is going to be your 60. So it's basically just, is it a quick game or is it like this is your standard? And then the only other formats would be like expanded, and then I think the other one is like legacy or just everything. So everything in standard, they have like a certain rotation. They're currently stamping cards with like a letter at the bottom, and I think in March when the newest set comes out, everything marked with a D is going to be deprecated.
Got it.
I like to think D for deprecation, just so I can remember that.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they're always rotating. There's this huge community of people who are like making their own formats. Like there's this one,
which is how Commander
started. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But Pokemon as a company, they won't accept any external.
I'm sure they're very litigious about it. Yeah.
That was again to get another tangent. Like that was something that was really interesting. I was listening to this person who's really into Yu-Gi-Oh, and then they did a podcast episode with someone who's really into Magic.
Yeah.
And just hearing how open Magic is to people changing and like them supporting these like different formats for better or worse, right? Like, because to them it's kind of like, oh, we're gonna pump a bunch of money and potential selling things to Commander now, and people are kind of like, we don't know if we like that. But like, it's interesting with like watching Pokemon at Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's very much like, this is our cards, deal with it. We don't really care to hear your feedback.
Yep.
Well, I've heard kind of the same thing goes for the video games too, where like they just pump out the video game they want to pump out, and you can like it or not.
It has been such. I mean, I have a lot of opinions on how they run their business and how they run a marketing campaign and just how they treat their fans. And I'm not a fan, I have to say.
He's not a fan.
You're not a fan of Pokemon, or you're not a fan of how they treat their fans?
I'm a fan of Pokemon. I'm not a fan of how they treat their fans.
That's such a sad feeling of being a really big fan of something and be like, I hate the people behind it, though. Not hate. I know you're not saying hate, but
like,
the
thing is, I mean, they have their own method, and it's very, I think, ingrained in the business cultural aspect of where they have to protect their brand.
Yeah.
Like there was this one clause that the Pokemon company laid out for their licensees, I believe the term is, they couldn't dress the Pokemon in clothes, like, period, or anything like that. So it's very protective of their brand.
It's got to look like the Pokemon's supposed to look, and
I mean, I don't blame them for that. I mean, that's totally cool. But when someone brings up like a different way to play their video game, there's this thing called like nuzlocking. And basically you play through the game to make it more challenging, and if one of your Pokemon faints, then you have to put it in your PC or your box, and you can't use it again. Two of these people who were working for Pokemon as influencers, they said like, hey, can we do this Nuzlocke run? It's super popular. Everybody's doing it. And they're like, no, absolutely not. Like, that's not the way that you're supposed to play the game.
Interesting.
Okay.
So,
I'm really glad Wizards of the Coast doesn't do anything like that.
Oh my God, we can't talk about Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay, keep going.
Oh man,
no worries.
I was so mad at that, but please continue.
No, I mean, I'm kind of done. Where in the fact that it's really just. And they all have their like Wizards of the Coast, Yu-Gi-Oh, like we all have our complaints about them.
Yeah. I mean, no company is going to be perfect.
But at the end of the day, it's all cardboard. And you bought it.
It's very expensive cardboard.
You bought
it. So who's the real loser?
Who's the real loser?
I feel like you just destroyed my life. Your life is just cardboard.
So we were driving to Glenn's to play Magic when we were talking about Pokemon.
Yeah.
And you were explaining the mechanics. Like, obviously we're not going to know until we play, but I kind of would love if you could have explained a little bit what you did to me, like how you explained it to me of just the mechanics of Pokemon.
Sure.
And then kind of talk about like why either you think we'll like it or not like it.
Yeah.
And then I'd love to just jump in
some
and
basic
play.
mechanics would be great. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so basic mechanics. So let's think about it from a draft perspective. So you're going to draft up 40 cards. They're going to they're consisting of Pokemon monster cards or creatures
like for Magic. Okay, sure.
Magic, the equivalent. And then they're going to have your item cards, which are basically like instant spells. And then you're going to have your supporter cards. So basically, there's this umbrella of quote-unquote trainer cards. So there's either item cards or supporter cards. Supporter cards you can only play once per turn. So they're more like sorcery spells.
Okay.
And in Pokemon, there's no trap cards. There's no instance that you can play on the other person's turn unless you have an ability that activates on the other person's turn. So your hand is basically at the mercy of the other person from turn to turn.
Got it. Okay.
And the big difference here is that usually in Magic, you're going to have a bunch of creatures on the card, on the field at once.
Yep.
And in Pokemon, that is the case. However, you can only have a total of 6, and there's only 1 in your active
combat
spot.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Similar to kind of like the show or the game where it's just two dueling.
I know a little bit more about the video games than I do the card games, so I'm pulling a little bit of that. But I'm picturing the video games, you line up a Pokemon on Pokemon, they fight, and if one dies, I think you send in another kind of thing. But
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's definitely that visualization. That visual is definitely correct. Where it's basically a Pokemon battle cards,
and the rest of them are kind of sitting on the bench.
The bench is
waiting to hop in.
I think that's actually one of the terms, isn't it?
It's exactly what they call it, the bench.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's your bench Pokemon. So you have 1 active spot and then 5 on the bench. So just like the video game, like the anime, the cartoon or whatever, 6 total of 6 Pokemon on the field at one point.
Okay.
So you have your creature cards, you have your sorcery spells, which fall under the trainer category, and then you have your energy, which is equivalent to mana. And that is also you can only play once per turn unless you have some like ramp cards. That's like some item cards will allow you to attach more per turn, or some abilities will allow you to attach more per turn, stuff like that. So the goal is to have your team of Pokemon within your deck attack and battle your opponent. But how you win and how that's measured is by the toughness of the cards that you and your opponent are playing. So there's a variation of levels of toughness between the Pokemon cards, creatures.
And not toughness, correct me if I'm wrong, not toughness like in Magic where it's like their health. It's like a rating, correct?
Yeah. So basically you're going to
This is where he like sold me on the concept.
Okay.
There's like this prize pool of cards. So when you draw your hand, after you draw your hand, you're going to put about 4 for draft or 6 for standard into on the left side of your playing field. Like imagine your mat,
So
right?
10%,
You're playing it over here.
Okay.
It's 6 cards for standard, and basically your prize pool is you're going to be drawing from that prize pool every time you knock out a Pokemon creature you're on your opponent's side of the field, right?
Okay.
So
if
your opponent has just like little wee creature that's like 60 health, that's going to be most likely 1 prize card for you. So if you successfully knock it out, you draw your prize pool.
Okay.
And it's kind of like a draw ramp.
You draw
too.
from your own prize pool.
You draw from your own prize pool.
Okay.
So and then the winner has no more prize cards. So you have to draw all of your prize cards.
Okay, so once you draw all your prize cards, you win?
Then you win. So basically, it's effectively like the visual, like if you defeat all 6 of your opponent's Pokemon in the video game, you win.
Okay.
Same thing with the card game. If you draw all the prize
So it's just a way of counting the Pokemon that you've knocked out.
Exactly.
Okay.
So there are other cards, though, that if they have a rule box at the bottom that says, if you knock out this card, your opponent takes 2 prize cards.
Okay.
So
that's usually because they're like more difficult, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they'll have like 200 health. Like that's a lot. And then ones that are 3 prizers, they'll have like 300 health. or something like that.
Okay.
Or they're strong.
So how does like combat actually work? Like when a Pokemon attacks another Pokemon, are they like using an ability to deal a certain amount of damage?
They're using an ability to deal a certain amount of damage. Yes.
Like I'm going to use Pikachu because it's the easiest touchstone, but like let's say Pikachu does a shock attack to another Pokemon, and that shock attack just automatically deals 20 damage. Is that the like thing?
Yeah. So basically whenever you declare an attack, it's the end of your turn, right?
Okay.
So you're basically setting up to attack your entire turn, and then you actually do attack. So and then there's particular moves that your Pokemon knows that will dictate how much damage it does based on how much mana or energy it has attached to it. So basically, the energy that you have, you're attaching to each of the Pokemon. So if you're powering up like a Pikachu,
you're like charging up that creature.
Do you lose the energy if it gets knocked out?
Only sometimes.
Okay. As always, right?
Right. So it gets knocked off if the card specifies that it does.
Got it.
Normally, by default, it does not, and it stays on the table.
The thing that seems so interesting about this is Magic the Gathering. To me, you can obviously, I feel like, play a deck and cards so differently, which is like why it's fun. But like at the core of it, it's building an engine, like we've talked about, right? Like Magic the Gathering is like getting your engine built to then do something, and you're trying to get in the way of other people's engines. Where this feels like you're almost like creating this dream team, and you're going to duel their dream. Like it feels, there's just a very different headspace you get into as you explain. I'm like, ooh, and then you're like, all right, I'm going to try to amp this guy up. And he took him out like faster than I was expecting. Okay, you're drawing more cards. I got to catch up. Like it becomes more of this like boxing match.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm associating it with the like TV show too much or the games too much, but it feels more like a duel than like a card game you're playing. You know what I mean? Like
it's a battle. I mean, they tried to. I mean, that's what they tried to do. They tried to replicate like the video game battle because that's where every Pokemon, piece of media derives from.
Is from the video games.
1996 is when the video game came out, and then 1998 is when the card game came out. So, and then everything else, I'm pretty sure the show started like a year after the game or something like that. But yeah, everything derives from the game.
Okay.
What for you, knowing we really the only card game we play is Magic. What for you do you think is going to be the hard, or not the hardest, but like maybe the most interesting difference, or like something that you think when we play it'll be like, ooh, this is I like how this is different in this way.
Maybe I don't know if you will, but I think the largest difference is the library search. In Pokemon, you get to search through your library like no other. Like basically, if your Magic deck isn't popping off, your Pokemon deck is popping off 100%. Because I feel like in Pokemon, you can build it in such a way that you can get it to a point where you're always getting what you need, and you are really just kind of, you have this one sword with your Pokemon deck, your opponent has their sword, and it's just like, all right, who's is sharper now?
So there's the luck of the draw is less of a mechanic or less of a balancing thing. It's much more, did you come with the right deck?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And I think what Pokemon does, in my opinion, a little bit better than Magic is that it's the consistency is there. So if you're playing like 2-3 matches with someone at a store, like you will have more opportunity for your deck to work than if you were just playing like Pioneer or something like that.
Yeah.
And to me that's definitely cooler. It keeps me engaged more just because like
I drew another land, or I didn't draw any land, and like I'd be beating you guys, but I got no mana.
Exactly. And I mean, I'm not going to say that doesn't happen with Pokemon, because I mean, obviously, card games it's very RNG based.
Yeah.
So it's part of it, but it's less so, in my opinion, than how your Magic deck can treat you, or at least maybe I'm building them wrong, and I do build them pretty bad, but.
So this might get a little.
It's not RNG. You're just bad.
Yeah. Blame it on the RNG.
This might get a little too nitty gritty, but I'm aware of in the video games and TV show that like Pokemon evolve, like right? They have evolve states, right, where you go from Charmander to Charizard or something like that, you know, or vice versa. I have no idea.
I think you're right. Was you right? Charmander to Charizard?
Charmander to Charmeleon to Charizard.
Oh,
Okay.
So
Okay.
three
There's an in
stager.
between.
3.
So yeah, is there usually 3?
Not always.
Not always.
Okay. Anyway, but like I understand that is a mechanic that's happening. Is you have evolving Pokemon.
Yeah. That's it.
In the card game, are you evolving cards into those different forms, or do you have a Charmander card and you have a Charizard card? Like those are just 2 separate cards.
They are 2 separate cards, so they will take up space in your deck as cards. It's not like you have like a side deck that contains your evolutions or something like that.
Okay.
So if you want to say you're evolving your Charmander into Charmeleon.
So there is a mechanic where you can evolve a Pokemon and then you're going to go pull that Pokemon and evolve it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So when that comes into play, if you have a Charmander anywhere in your active spot or on your bench, and then you have the Charmeleon in your hand, but you also have a Charizard in your hand. So basically it's a 2-stager. So you have the basic Pokemon on the field, which is Charmander.
Mm-hmm.
You have the first stage, which is Charmeleon, and then the third stage, which is Charizard. You can't, on the same turn, then evolve it all the way into Charizard.
Okay.
Got it.
You have to take a breather to say, all right, I'm evolving it into Charmeleon this turn, and when it comes around to me again, then it's going to be Charizard.
Okay.
Kind of like
That's
tapping
cool.
on tapping a little bit, like where it's like you can't just keep.
Yeah.
Using
I was
ability.
kind of hoping the evolution would be a mechanic in the game, and
Yeah.
it wasn't just like, oh, those are just 2 separate cards. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm
'Cause I was
glad
always-
it's a mechanic.
Good.
That was always like the he's evolving moment.
Yeah, like-
and then it happens.
like
It's
it-
like, what the hell's this thing?
It seems like a mechanic that needs to be in the card game.
Absolutely.
You know?
And I
Yeah.
mean, I think they do rein in most of the concepts from like the game into just battle wise. I mean, I don't
see
think
the
there's too many.
Like I said, I
things.
have never played the video games. I've just
brought it in.
osmosed these things.
Perfect. And I mean, you already had evolution in there, so you might have a
Good to
little bit
go.
of that physical fold yourself.
Okay.
As you know, as a kid, you saw these things, and I mean, you
Yeah,
never
kinda,
forgot
I
it.
guess, yeah.
So right.
Yeah, well, I listened to a podcast called The Besties, and one of the hosts on there just talks about Pokemon all the time because it's one of his favorite video games. So I just pick up the terminology.
Osmosis, that's what
from
you're talking
that.
about.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
osmosed it.
Before we jump in and try this game,
Yeah,
what is something else that you think we might get stuck on?
that's a good question.
Stuck on.
He's got good questions. I'm just.
It's almost like
I'm
I
just
interview
chatting you
people
up.
for a
Yeah,
for a living.
living.
it's like I don't.
Yeah, so something you might get stuck on, probably, I think the most confusing thing would be when you can play things and when you can't play things.
Okay.
Because it's not explicitly stated on the card where it's like, hey, guess what? It's your first turn and you have a supporter in your hand. Well, actually, the rules state that if you have a supporter and you're going first in the overall game, you can't play that supporter.
Okay, so there's a lot of like side rules going on.
So I'm going to be
Okay.
like the rules
You'll be the
lawyer
ref. Yeah,
and
yeah.
saying like,
Okay.
well, actually,
actually-
you can't. Yeah.
Actually, you lose.
Exactly.
All right.
So that's probably something that you might get stuck on.
I have to say for a second, when you were describing, you have like these 6 prize things. Are you picking those in advance, or are you just like
It's
putting
random.
the top 6 down? Basically?
So when you draw your hand,
yeah,
after you've shuffled your deck, you draw your 7 cards.
okay,
And then, without looking at them,
Yeah.
you're taking 1, 2, 3, 4 for draft,
yep,
putting them over there. You don't know what they are.
so cool.
So
I-
the thing
such a
is,
cool
people
mechanic.
get stuck a lot in competitions and everything. If you only have one card that you really, really need in your deck to work, and,
And it-
you've placed it in the prize pool,
that's tough.
and you're searching through your library for it, you're not. It's not going to be. You
Yeah.
can't use it.
Yeah.
Can you have duplicates?
You can have duplicates
Okay.
up to 4, just like
Okay.
Pioneer.
Yeah. Okay.
There's some cards called Radiant cards that you can only have
Legendary.
one of.
Okay, cool.
Well, legendary you can only
You can have
play
one
one.
on
So
the field.
okay. that makes
Legendary
But
cards?
for a second, I thought you were saying that you were betting those cards, and like the winner takes the prize.
That's what we're
pool.
doing.
That's what
And
it is.
I was
We're-
like,
we're gonna
that
bet.
sounds cool.
Right? It is kind of cool.
It is cool.
That like every game you have to bet 6 cards.
There was a
cards?
thing.
That would be
I thought
wild.
there was a thing with Yu-Gi-Oh like that or something. No, Magic. Magic. The mechanic was you drew your 7 cards,
Yeah.
and then you flipped your next card over, and when you lost, you had to give it to the person.
Okay.
That was like part
That
of the
sounds cool.
game.
I
It's a
don't
really
know.
cool mechanic.
Yeah.
Makes me feel horrible inside. I would never
Yeah.
play.
Ooh, man, that sounds
I-
way too stressful for me.
I'm getting really
I'm
excited to
already
try
too
to try
competitive.
The one thing that popped into my head was like, Glenn, you've been doing like 3D printing for Magic stuff. You're like deep in, and I don't think this is gonna happen. But how scared are you right now?
Fuel on the fire, baby.
That like you play this and you go, damn it, I gotta do stuff for this now.
Oh, it's already running through my mind, Ryan. Yeah, I'll be 3D printing a ton of Pokemon stuff by next week.
People are ready to buy.
Oh, good.
You know what? Yeah, exactly. It's a new market.
New market.
Oh,
Great.
absolutely.
Can't wait.
Any last words before we dive in?
Yeah.
Any last words? Period.
How many people can play at once?
How many people can play at once?
Oh, that's a good question.
So people have been like definitely playing around with like open source kind of games and stuff like that based around like double battles. It's one-on-one.
Okay.
Is what it is.
I kind of like
only,
that. I don't know. Like I love Commander, but I kind of like the way that Pokemon sounds. It's so built. It sounds like it's so built around that 1v1.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. Is like the thing about some Magic modes, right? Is like Commander is great, but it's less great if it's one-on-one. You know, you almost need 3 or 4 to make Commander really good. Where
That's
like
fair,
you got politics going on, and it gets much better.
Yeah.
I almost prefer that. Like, hey, we're sticking to a duel thing, but we're gonna make the duel great. You know, like we don't need to muddy the waters by having a 3rd or 4th person in here and kind of be average at either one.
Games can go so quick, and it's all tournament based. So it's super competitive. It's like, you know, your sword against the other sword. Who's sharper?
It sounds and it sounds much more like friendly to a competitive game where obviously Magic is there, but it's the randomness of it can really mess things up.
Yep.
Especially
in Commander for sure.
Yeah, and that's the thing is Commander's built to be random.
Yep.
Like it's supposed to stay, even though there is a competitive side to Commander for Magic, it's like it's supposed to be casual. Yep. Like that's the core of it. But dude, I'm excited. I'm pumped.
I'm pumped to check it out.
All right. So we were going to go, I'll explain as always. We're going to go play Pokemon actually right now. We're also going to play some Magic. But then next episode, Mike's going to join us for the first half. We're going to talk about what we thought of it, what we loved, what we hated.
Yep.
And then we're going to go into the next recommendation, which will be Glenn.
Yeah, I'll be pitching.
You'll have plenty of time to think about it. Do you know what it is already?
I already got it.
He's already got locked and loaded.
I'm worried you've already touched base on it though.
Touched base as in like done it? Or
I don't know.
All right.
I don't know. We'll see.
So we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Okay.
See you guys later. Bye.
Thanks for having me on, fellas.
Yeah. Anytime.